बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिधर धारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिधर धारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिधर धारी जय राधा राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जन वल्लभ गिरिधर धारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जन वल्लभ गिरिधर धारी यशोदानंदन भज जन रंजना यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजना यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिधर धारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिधर धारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे राम 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 हरे कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जगन्नाथ जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेव जय सुभद्रा जय गौरानिताय 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 जय गौरानिताय जय जय प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद Jaya Jaya Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapatakampalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripatamaham vandre Shri Guru Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Ishwaram. Most humble respects to all the devotees. Seek your blessings and your permission to speak something about the life of Srila Ragunath Das Goswami. And just a very brief introduction for somebody who's new. I'm talking about a saint who lived about approximately 500 years ago. He was one of the direct disciples, direct followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who appeared 500 years ago to ignite a spiritual revolution in this world. A revolution of consciousness. In the first part, I explained that he had 6 principal followers. They are also known as the 6 Goswamis. One of them is known as Srila Ragunath Das Goswami. Ragunath Das Goswami was a sannyasi or a monk in the renounced order. He was specifically empowered by Lord Chaitanya to exemplify or display and to set an example for the generations of devotees of renunciation and those who are in the renounced order of life. How should they behave? Now, all of us we may be having internal degrees of renunciation, which is different, but we are householders, family men. So how is this important or relevant to us if those instructions are for those who are in the renounced order? Well, we can take inspiration from it. We take inspiration from the lives of the saints. We may not be able to follow it like that. And the context is also relevant. So some of the instructions, even acharyas have debated, what are the instructions for grihasthas, what are the instructions for sannyasis. Very famous example in divine and demoniac qualities in the 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. When Krishna lists 26 divine qualities, Srila Prabhupada very nicely and neatly categorizes them. What are important for those who are sannyasis? What are those 3 qualities? Anybody can tell me? 3 qualities in the 16th chapter, divine nature. Fearlessness. Abhaya Sattvam Shamsuddha. Fearlessness, truth, and propagation of spiritual knowledge. What are the 3 qualities for grihasthas?
Charity.
Sanskrit, Acharya, please. Yes, very good. Yeah. So, Danam, charity. If I stumped Prem Sindhu Prabhu and Sugandha, then I must be doing something right. So the 3 qualities, divine qualities for grihasthas, which Srila Prabhupada outlines in his purport, are sense control, sama, or dhamma, danam, and lastly, sacrifice, yajna. Sankirtan yajna, Srila Prabhupada explains. And then 1 quality for brahmachari, study of the Vedas. Study of the Vedas. Those who are not yet in the marriage ashram, study of the Vedas, and those who are in the Vedic ashram, in the Grihastha ashram, and they should study the Vedas properly if they have not done so. So Ujjwal, for you the instruction is to study the Vedas very, very carefully. And then 1 quality for those who are in the Vanaprastha order, 16th chapter, 26 qualities of a devotee. Rukmini Didi, you are quiet. Okay. Austerity, tapasya. And then Srila Prabhupada explains, these are depending upon your ashram. Then depending upon the varnas, what is the quality for Brahmana? Yes, samadama tapas saucham shantirarjavam evacha jnana vijnana astikyam brahma karma swabhajam. For Kshatriya, violence. Srila Prabhupada explains in his purport, for a Kshatriya to be non-violent is a weakness. So heroism in battle. A quality for Vaishyas. Kishi Gururaksha Vandajam, again these come in the 18th chapter. In the 16th chapter, service to cows, service to humanity through their ability to earn wealth. Wealth is meant to be distributed. And Vaishyas can earn wealth, but it was the duty of the Kshatriyas to divide it equitably. And qualities for Shudras, and Kalau Sambhava Shudra, so for all of us, is lack of desire for honor. Freedom from honor, freedom from passion for honor and distinction. So, and seva to others, obviously. So like that. So Ragunath Das Goswami's, I just want to give a little context that hope this does not discourage you to this point, but to encourage. I asked His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj one time, when you first come in the Krishna consciousness movement and hear about the Goswamis, every man wants to follow the Goswamis, go to Vrindavan and take a begging part. I can tell you this, Every man has that desire. I first heard about the Goswamis and I was thinking, so I asked Maharaj, how is this to be understood? Current generation of sannyasis travel in the planes, they have cars, they have nice residence, eat prasadam. And then, he explained that if we were to follow the example of Goswamis, we would probably die. And also, there is another point about yukta vairagyam, is engaged renunciation. The basic point is, if everything is used for the service of Krishna, then that is the main principle of renunciation for us. Okay. With that background, I'd like to begin the second part of Srila Raghunath Das Goswami's life. First part, just a little brief recap. He was born in 1494, 8 years after the birth of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Took his birth in a very pious family. Parents were very charitable. They would support the Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas of Nadia. They were connected with the family of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, knew Nilambar Chakravarti and Mahaprabhu's parents. Their family priest Balaram Acharya was a disciple of Srila Advaita Acharya, and their Diksha Guru Yadunandan Acharya was also a disciple of Srila Advaita Acharya. And when Haridas Thakur moved from Benapul to Saptagram, at that point Srila Haridas Thakur would regularly visit the house of Govardhan and Hiranya Mazumdar, and Ragunath Das Goswami had a direct association with Srila Haridas Thakur. He would honor his remnants and hear Krishna Katha from him. He met Srila Chaitanya Mahaprabhu twice, and we covered that last time, and he developed a burning desire to go to Jagannath Puri. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told him, please do not be a crazy fellow. Do your duties externally. Internally, bhaja Radha Krishna. Internally, serve Radha Krishna. By and by, Krishna will be merciful unto you. Krishna will give you the shelter of his lotus feet, and you will be able to come and visit me in Jagannath Puri. Now, second part, and then finally at the end of the first part, he runs away from his home, runs for 13 days, eating only thrice, take the route, which was not standard route, went through jungles and mountains and forest to get to Jagannath Puri, and he reaches Jagannath Puri. There, Srila Ragunath Das Goswami first meets Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, pays his respectful obeisances. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is extremely pleased to see Srila Ragunath Das Goswami. And our acharyas explain that that is the meeting of Bhagavan with his bhakta. How pleased Bhagavan is to see his bhakta when he returns home or when he surrenders. And what is surrender? This idea of anukulyasa sankalpa, pratikulyasa varjanam, rakshishyati iti vishwaso, gopritve varnam tatha, atma nikshepa karpanya shadvide sharanagati. Srila Prabhupada would say, in time of initiation, you should surrender to Krishna. The instruction for all of us is we should surrender to Krishna. This surrender is exemplified by these 6 principles. So Srila Ragunath Das Goswami reaches Jagannath Puri. There is this heartfelt meeting where Srila Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraces Ragunath Das Goswami, drenches his body in his own tears. Ragunath Das Goswami washes the lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with his tears. This is real Diksha, real initiation. And he immediately instructs, first instruction to Ragunath Das Goswami, he tells his assistant, his secretary, Srila Swarup Damodar Goswami, to take care of Ragunath Das Goswami as his own son, and to guide him, to nourish him, to instruct him, and to take care of him. And from that day on, in Jagannath Puri, Ragunath Das Goswami was known as Swarupera Raghu. Raghu, who belongs to Swarup Damodar, because there were other Raghunaths as well, but he was known as Swarupera Raghu. This is a very important principle of Bhakti Yoga, of ultimate surrender to Krishna, that Ragunath Das Goswami, after that, would not approach Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu directly. Even if he had some questions, he would approach Swarup Damodar Goswami. And in the beginning, Ragunath Das Goswami would honor the Mahaprasadam of Lord Jagannath, of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu will give it to Swarup Damodar Goswami, and Swarup Damodar will give it to Ragunath Das Goswami. Ragunath Das Goswami did not approach God directly. He approached it through his devotee. The ultimate principle of all Vedas is Das Das Anudas. Gopi Bhartyor na ham vipra na cha narpati na vaishyo shudro na ham varni na cha grahapati na vanastho yatarva kintu prodya nikhil paramananda purna vritabdhir Gopi Bhartu padkamalayor das 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 anudas. I am a servant of the servant. This is the real principle of bhakti. Serving Krishna is one thing, serving the devotees of Krishna is one thing, and seeing everything, every devotee of Krishna as his tadiya. In the Bhagavatam it is explained there is only one thing which is higher than worshipping Krishna directly, that is worshipping the tadiya, tadiyanam samarjana. To worship and to respect and to honor and to serve things which are connected to Krishna, it is the same benefit, and even higher benefit. We find that devotees who serve other devotees, Krishna calls them back home, back to Godhead very, very quickly. So, like that. Tadiya. The principle is Tadiya. Tadiya, things which are related to Krishna are more important than worshipping Krishna directly. So Raghunath Das Goswami's relationship with Sarup Damodar Goswami and our acharyas comment upon that. That's a very important principle. Some time went by and Raghunath Das Goswami asked Srila Sarup Damodar Goswami, can you please ask Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what is the instruction for me? Now since I am here and I am situated, what is the instruction for me? And these are the seminal instructions from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which I will read to you. Most important instructions for everybody, and of course for those in the renounced order of life, but for everybody. First instruction. Please listen carefully. This is why I am giving this talk. The main body of this talk is this. First instruction. Gramya katha na sunibe, gramya varta na kahibe, bhal na khaibe or bal na baribe. Gramya katha. Do not talk like people in general or hear what they say. This news and the tidings of this material world and sports and all of these things, they fall into the category of Gramya Katha. And those devotees who are sincere and serious and who are aspiring for surrender should avoid these worldly talks. Neither they should talk like people in general and hear what they say. Specifically our Vaishnava Acharyas, in regard to this, they warn us specifically that we should not hear gossip pertaining to Vaishnavas. And we should not hear the faults of Vaishnavas. One should behave like a deaf man when it comes to this particular kind of Gramya Katha. All Gramya Katha is not necessary for those who are aspiring for surrender, but specifically one should run away from that Gramya Katha which systematically talks about the faults of the devotees. I'll share some my own wisdom, whatever I have. Every jiva has some good qualities and some bad qualities. We focus on the good qualities. If we choose to focus, then those good qualities will come in us. We will be happy. Our bhajan will be nice. And otherwise, if we focus on the bad, then that bad multiplies. It disturbs our bhajan, it disturbs our consciousness, and we fall down into the whirlpool of worldly things, material things. So just focus on the good. Even if a very deep agitation arises in the heart, then bring your mind back to the good, because everybody has some good. So let's just focus on that one good. So do not talk like people in general or hear what they have to say. Now, not eating very palatable food, not dressing very nicely. I must admit this is a frailty. We all like to eat palatable prasadam and serve palatable prasadam, and not dressing very nicely. My understanding of this principle, which can be applied in one's life, everybody has a certain quota. Shri Ishopanishad, the first verse, describes that one should accept only what is one's quota. If one eats more than that, or dresses more than that, or accumulates anything more than that, then he will be entangled in this cycle of accumulation. So figure out what your quota is and live according to that. So that's the first instruction. Now this is just a simple instruction. Let's look at the second and the third instruction. Very important. Amani manadana hana Krishna Nam Sada Haibe. Vraja Radha Krishna Seva Manasa Kariye. Do not expect honor, but offer all respect to others. Do not expect honor, but offer respect to others. Krishna Nam Sada Haibe. Always chant the holy name of Lord Krishna. This is the real spiritual principle in the age of Kali Yuga. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's lotus mouth, he's telling it directly to Sarup Damodar Goswami to be given to Raghunath Das Goswami. Now, very, very important instruction. The 9 processes of devotion are so arranged that they follow one after another. Shravanam Kirtanam is followed by Vishnu Smaranam. If one's chanting is good, what happens then? One naturally, Srila Prabhupada explains, bhakti is not an artificial imposition on mind. It is not an artificial imposition. One naturally begins to think, smarana. Shravanam Kirtanam is followed by smarana. Smarana, manasi seva. In mind, worship Radha and Krishna. This is the instruction for manasi seva, or what is also called as eventually, which matures into Raganuga Bhakti. And again, Raganuga Bhakti is not a taboo. It's not an artificial imposition. Sadhana Bhakti, or one's Shravanam Kirtanam, one's good conduct, one's seva, one's character, is naturally meant to manifest or mature into Manasi Seva, or to engage the mind in the pastimes of Radha and Krishna, in the Ashtakala Leela Smarana or Manjari Seva. And this was a specific instruction given to Raghunath Das Goswami, and Raghunath Das Goswami was meant to write literature and to propagate this particular aspect of devotional service to all future generation of Vaishnavas. I'm studying this book, Shri Vilap Kusumanjali, written by His Holiness Shivram Maharaj. Please, it's coming in 5 volumes. This is the first volume. And Raghunath Das Goswami's seminal works, Manaha Shiksha, Vilap Kusumanjali, develops this theme in a very step-by-step, in a systematic fashion. And his books like Mukta Charita and Dana Charita, they are his principal works. So please avail of this opportunity. So first, do not expect honors, respect others. Chant the holy name of Krishna always, and in your mind, worship Radha and Krishna. And these things progress one after another. Yes, Rahul or Ranchod Prabhu? One after another. First one has to come to this platform of, and then Mahaprabhu spoke the 3rd verse of Shikshastakam. First time he spoke the 3rd verse of Shikshastakam, which is so Mahaprabhu spoke this to Raghunath Das Goswami through Swarup Damodar Goswami. So this is the main instruction for Vaishnavas. Our life is exemplified, or our life should be towards, number 1, surrender. Number 2, Gramya Kathana Kahibe, Gramya Kathana Paribe. Live a simple life which is according to your means and quota. I'm paraphrasing the Bharna Palibe and Bharna Kaibe. And then chant the holy name always. Do not expect respect, but respect others. In your mind, worship Radha and Krishna. So now we have understood this principle. And Raghunath Das Goswami was so overjoyed to hear this. He was extremely overjoyed to hear this. And he received direct instructions from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. What is my order, Guru Maharaj? This is your instruction. By and by, Srila Raghunath Das Goswami became a dear associate of all, and dear servant of all the Vaishnavas of Jagannath Puri. Eventually, during the Rath Yatra time, all the devotees from Bengal arrived in Jagannath Puri, and they saw Raghunath Das Goswami. Of course, he came from Bengal, but now they saw him very beautifully engaged in his Niyam Seva. What was Raghunath Das Goswami's service? What was his life like? He was, and this of course when he was at Radhakund, but when he was at Radhakund later on, Raghunath Das Goswami, every day he would pay 1,000 obeisances to the Vaishnavas and to the deities. To every Vaishnava, he would pay an obeisance. Number 1. Number 2, he would chant minimum 64 rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Number 3, he would speak the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya to Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami and to the assembly of Vaishnavas for 3 hours every day, and he would take a bath in the Radhakund 3 times a day. And he was writing his granthas, literature which we have now, which we can avail. As far as Bhalna Khaibe, what was Raghunath Das Goswami's eating? This is an entire chapter in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Let's look at this. When he first got to Jagannath Puri, Govinda, the servant of Mahaprabhu, would bring the remnants of Mahaprabhu to Raghunath Das. That continued for some time. After that, Raghunath Das Goswami stopped coming for lunch. Mahaprabhu asked Swarup Damodar, "We haven't seen Raghunath, where is he?" Raghunath Das Goswami replied, "He does not want to enjoy this palatable Mahaprasad. So he is begging at the main gate of the temple. He stands there. If he gets something, he eats. If he doesn't get something, he fasts that day. And he's begging at the Simhadwar." Mahaprabhu expressed his approval and appreciation for this being. And Mahaprabhu would go to the temple through the main gate, Simhadwar, and he would see Raghunath Das Goswami standing there. After a while, Raghunath Das Goswami was not found at the main gate. So Mahaprabhu asked Swarup Damodar Goswami, "I don't see Raghunath begging at the main gate. Where is he now?" Swarup Damodar replied, "To beg at the main gate, will this person give me, will this person not give me, and wasting his time." He thought it was a waste of time, and he was doing Vaishya Vritti, he was doing prostitution. So he has stopped begging. Once a day, there is a place where food is freely distributed to all the beggars. Raghunath Das Goswami sit with the beggars in Jagannath Puri and he eats once a day. And Mahaprabhu expressed his appreciation and approval. He was the son of one of the richest landlords in his district. He was the son of a tax collector, the richest person. He's eating where beggars are given food once a day. After some time, a more new development happens. Raghunath Das Goswami thought, eating food with the beggars and going to Atiti Shala is another form of prostitution. Ultimately, some rich man sponsors this meal, and by eating the food which is cooked by the money of a rich man will contaminate my consciousness. So, the food, the prasadam, which goes bad and which is thrown away. Now imagine a scene in India from where cows and crows and dogs scavenge the food. The food which is left by the animals. Raghunath would pick up some rice, he would throw away the outer portion, take the inner portion of the rice, wash it, mix it with some salt and eat it. So Swarup Damodar one time went to the hut of Raghunath Das and said, "What are you eating?" And he said, No, I'm not eating anything. And he forcibly steals that and he eats it. And he gives the report to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu finds out about it and comes to the place where Raghunath Das Goswami is. And our Acharya has explained, just as Krishna ate the stale and the chipped rice of Sudama, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu forcibly took that rice, which was left by the cows and the crows and the dogs, and washed and put it in his mouth and said, "I have never tasted prasadam like this." And when he tried to put the second morsel in his mouth, Srila Swarup Damodar Goswami, who's Lalita Devi, prevented him. Just like Rukmini prevented Krishna from eating more of that rice, similarly, Swarup Damodar Goswami said, "This food is not fit for you." But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was extremely happy to hear about the renunciation of Srila Raghunath Das Goswami. When the Vaishnavas from Bengal went back to Bengal after the 4 months of Rath Yatra, and they told Shivananda Sen, very diplomatically told Raghunath Das Goswami's parents that how Raghunath is living and his degree of renunciation. And all the Vaishnavas, before returning back, they blessed Raghunath in his vows of renunciation. And one more principle, when Raghunath Das saw that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was pleased and partake of that prasadam he was eating, he could understand that this spirit of renunciation in his heart is a mercy from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If we don't have mercy of Vaishnavas, we cannot do bhajan, we cannot practice any rules and regulations, we cannot practice any niyams or austerities. All of this comes from the mercy of the Lord. It is a subtle science. We instead become Vishayis and offenders if we offend Vaishnavas. This is what happens. So Raghunath Das Goswami had a very distinct realization when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took his rice from his hand, that it is only Mahaprabhu's grace, it is his mercy that actually from within the Paramatma is inspiring him to practice that degree of renunciation. That degree of renunciation was not even possible for the Vaishnava, for any other Vaishnava in that age. And that is why Raghunath Das Goswami is considered as an emblem or an example of renunciation. He could understand that his renunciation was his preaching. That was his gift to the Vaishnavas. And he could do that because he was blessed by Krishna. Right? So when Vaishnavas went back to Bengal, they told his parents about Raghunath. They sent Raghunath Das Goswami 2 servants, 1 cook, and 400 rupees for him. Raghunath very promptly returned the cooks and the servant, tell them to go back to Bengal. But he kept some money, thinking in his mind that he will be able to engage some of the money of his parents in Krishna's service, like that. So he would invite Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu twice a month, and he would use some of that Lakshmi to feed Mahaprabhu and his associates. That continued for 2 years. After 2 years, Raghunath Das Goswami had another revelation in his heart. He felt that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was accepting this offering of his only because of external formality and consideration as not to break his heart. But internally, he was not happy. So he stopped the invitations. When Mahaprabhu asked Sarup Damodar Goswami, why has my invitation stopped? Sarup Damodar Goswami revealed that to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu smiled and said, by eating the food cooked by materialistic people or purchased from the wealth of materialistic people, one's mind becomes contaminated. So then the question becomes, what about all of us? So I asked this question to one of my mentors, and he said that one who's preaching and taking prasadam, he should chant a lot more than 16 rounds so as not to become contaminated. Otherwise, his consciousness will invariably become contaminated. So anyhow, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he approved of that idea. Now, another principle to understand here is Raghunath Das Goswami's parents were Vaishnavas. Not only Vaishnavas, they would support the entire Brahminical and Vaishnava community of Nadia. And their associates were some of the saintly Vaishnavas. But anyway, there is a gradation among Vaishnavas, and I should not speak more than my paycheck, more than my qualification. But you get the point, right? There is a difference among everything. So anyhow, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very pleased when Raghunath Das Goswami stopped. Raghunath Das Goswami went about his business of procuring food which has been rejected by crows and dogs and eating that food. Let's see. I had another notebook, I forgot, sorry. So, Ragunath Das Goswami in Jagannath Puri was privy for 16 years to the most intimate pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates. He was a witness to the passing of Srila Haridas Thakur. He was participant in Gundicha Marjanam, and he was a confidential associate of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. By and by, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left this world. By and by, Sarup Damodar Goswami, and he also left this world. And all of the associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Jagannath Puri, who had taken birth, just like when Krishna appears, all of the Devatas and Yadus made their appearance, they also disappeared. Ragunath Das Goswami came to Braj. with the intention of jumping from Govardhan Hill and committing suicide. In a beautiful verse, he says, "Without my dearest master, Govardhan Hill looks like a python, and Radhakund looks like the mouth of the python." Ragunath Das Goswami came to Braj with the intention of committing suicide. There he met Srila Rupa and Sri Sanatana Goswami, who could understand his desire, his manobhishtam. So Sanatana Goswami took Ragunath Das Goswami aside and he said, "You witnessed all the pastimes of Mahaprabhu. Now please teach it and leave them for posterity, for the future generation of Vaishnavas. Nobody can attain Krishna by committing suicide. Mahaprabhu taught me this personally. So you live here in Braj, and you perform your sadhana, and you write granthas, and you guide generations of Vaishnavas." Ragunath Das Goswami took shelter of Srila Rupa and Sri Sanatana Goswami. And he moved closer to Radhakund and Shyamkund, which was at that time, as you know, after Krishna disappeared, when Mahaprabhu visited Braj, they were like two small ponds in a paddy field. And Mahaprabhu realized that, and he gave instructions to the Vaishnavas to take care of them. But they were still two very small ponds. Srila Ragunath Das Goswami established his residence there, and he started writing, started teaching Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. And whenever Jiva Goswami would bring his students to Govardhan, Srila Ragunath Das Goswami would guide them. Jahanva Mata came to bless Ragunath Das Goswami. Ragunath Das Goswami, one day in his dream, got this very distinct desire to develop Radhakund. Now, being the son of a landlord and being expert in material things, he was very expert in drawing up plans, raising money, dealing with the authorities, dealing with laborers to get things done. But as he was thinking and meditating and planning the excavation of Radhakund and Shyamkund into proper ghats, now we go there, it's so beautiful, he thought that I am here to do Manjari Seva. And is this, getting back into all of these things, anybody who has done a renovation project in their house know it can be a 6-month or a 1-year project, right? And you can get cheated and so many things. Here he's developing these huge projects, developing Radhakund, Shyamkund, and the Sangam between the two. So he thought, no, this is not pleasing to Krishna. So he abandoned the idea. And Krishna showed Ragunath Das Goswami that the desire to serve the Dham, the desire to serve or build something to serve the Vaishnavas is not different from Manasi Seva or Manjari Seva. In the further country where the temple of Badrinath is, a very wealthy merchant was going to donate a large sum of money to renovate the temple of Badrinath, Badri Vishal or Badri Narayan or Badrinath. In his dream, Krishna came and said, "You take all of this wealth and you go to Braj and go to Radhakund. There you will find Srila Ragunath Das Goswami. Give all your wealth and your assistance and your managerial abilities to Srila Ragunath Das Goswami." So after some days, that gentleman showed up at Braj and he told Ragunath Das Goswami about his dream. And Ragunath Das Goswami realized that Krishna really wants him to do this seva. He brought his wealth, he brought his assistance. So that person and Srila Ragunath Das Goswami, with the assistance of other Vaishnavas, started excavating Radhakund, Shyamkund, building beautiful ghats, steps to the ghat, and the surrounding environment of planting beautiful trees of all different kind of trees which are mentioned in the Vedas as befitting Radhakund in the spiritual world. Of course, nowadays a market has developed. So as they were excavating, they wanted Radhakund and Shyamkund to look the same. But there was a problem. There were several trees and bushes which had to be cut down in order to make the shape of Shyamkund the same as Radha Kund. And they thought, okay, we have no choice, only a few trees, we want to make them look alike. That night, Yudhishthir Maharaj came in the dream of Ragunath Das Goswami. And he told Ragunath Das Goswami, myself and my 4 brothers, we are performing tapasya, we are performing austerity, we are performing bhajan here at the bank of Radha Kund for time immemorial, at least for last 5,000 years. Please do not cut us. And Ragunath Das Goswami explained that to the architect, and that's why the shape of Shyamakunda and Radha Kund are different. So Raghunath Das Goswami was the Acharya who actually gave us, and of course it has been renovated since then, but he gave us the Radha Kund and the Shyam Kund and made a beautiful Sangam, a beautiful ghat with steps and beautiful chhatris and such nice architecture at that time. So spent a majority of his time developing Radha Kund and Shyam Kund. Raghunath Das Goswami would do his bhajan on the banks of Radha Kund. And Sanatan Goswami would do parikrama of Govardhan every day. So he would pass through the banks of Radha Kund and he would see Raghunath Das Goswami, who Raghunath was the mentee or the disciple, and now in this sense of Srila Sanatan Goswami. And he saw one day as he was passing by, he saw Raghunath Das Goswami so deeply absorbed in bhajan and not having any external consciousness of this world or even his own body. A tiger appeared from the bushes to drink water from Radha Kund, and the tiger is drinking water from Radha Kund. There Raghunath Das Goswami is completely oblivious to any consideration of this world. He's in his Siddha Deha serving Radha and Krishna. So then after the meditation broke, Sanatan Goswami, and Sanatan Goswami saw Krishna with a stick, making sure that the tiger would not do anything to Raghunath Das. And Sanatan Goswami Pad explained to Raghunath Das Goswami, you are serving Radha and Krishna is serving you. He's coming here with a stick to make sure that no tiger or wild animal disturbs you. So who's serving who? So maybe you should make a little bhajan kutir. And Raghunath Das Goswami dismissed the idea. He didn't want to make anything for himself. Vaishnavas mean everything for Krishna, nothing for me. Srila Prabhupada said that. He was asked, Srila Prabhupada, what is pure devotional service? Srila Prabhupada replied, everything for Krishna, nothing for me. That is pure devotional service. Another day, Sanatan Goswami was doing his parikrama, and it was a hot day with sun beating hard. And again, Raghunath Das is sitting on the banks of Radha Kund, completely immersed in bhajan, with no external consciousness of the sun or the weather, and he saw Radharani holding a veil over Raghunath Das Goswami's head and standing there. And Sanatan Goswami disclosed that to Raghunath Das Goswami. First you take service from Krishna, now you interrupt the divine couple in their midday pastimes so that Radharani has to come and stand over you. And so finally this word got around and Sanatan Goswami spread the rumor around, spread the reality around, and the villagers came together and made a little hut for Raghunath Das Goswami. That's where his current samadhi is. That's where his bhajan kutir became. One day, Raghunath Das Goswami was feeling a little sick. Now, by this time, before he was eating a little rice which was left over by crows, by this time he would have a banana leaf cup of whey, W-H-E-Y, not the milk, but the whey. That was his diet. So one day, Raghunath Das Goswami was not feeling well. Sanatan Goswami called a doctor, a physician. Physician came, carefully examined him, carefully felt his pulse, and said that Raghunath Das Goswami's abdominal pain, his stomach pain, is because of overindulgence in milk products. And the Vaishnavas described that his entire diet is a cup of whey. Raghunath Das Goswami sheepishly had to disclose. He says, no, the physician is correct. Last night there was a wonderful festival. I had cooked a sweet rice. and I ate all the remnants of the divine couple. And hence, I'm not feeling well. Meaning there was no difference between his Siddha Deha, his spiritual body, and his material body. That is why it is said the body of a Vaishnava, even the material body of a Vaishnava, is pure. Jivan Mukta sa uchyate. So to serve the body of a Vaishnava is also equal to serving spiritual realm. So Prabhupada disciples, we see, they would clean his stool and urine. And we see that in all the advanced Vaishnavas, taking care of the gurus and Vaishnavas like that. So there was no difference between the perfected body of Ragunath Das Goswami and his material body. One time, some Vaishnava really wanted Ragunath Das Goswami to eat well. So he brought a large palm leaf so that he can put more whey in it. So Ragunath Das Goswami at least can have more whey. And Ragunath Das Goswami accepted it. And he asked, where is this from? And the devotee disclosed, I got this from the neighboring village of Sakhistali. And Ragunath Das Goswami was livid. He said, and he threw it away, much to the horror of the Vaishnava. He said, what happened? He said, Sakhistali is the village of Chandravali, who's a competitor of Radharani. And when Chandravali meets Krishna, it gives so much distress to Radharani. And he took a stick and he was about to beat him. So anyway, he says, no worry, no worry. He brought a local leaf and he gave it to Raghunath Das Goswami. Raghunath Das Goswami honored it. Raghunath Das Goswami was, anytime a Vaishnava will visit Braj from Bengal, we hear about the students of Jiva Goswami, Srinivas, Narottam and Shamananda. He was a mentor and a guide for them. He was a mentor and guide for Vaishnavas. He lived an exemplary life of Nam Bhajan, writing scriptures, being an emblem of austerity and renunciation, and being an emblem of a father figure for Vaishnavas in Braj. Finally, when Rupa and Sanatan left, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami could not bear the separation, and he also finished his earthly pastimes. And before that, and the last, this Vilap Kusumanjali is when even Rupa and Sanatan had left. Vilap means separation. Kusum Anjali, offering of flowers. So this is a little bit about the life of Srila Raghunath Das Goswami. This is all what comes to my mind. For the Vaishnavas, reading this book, studying Manashiksha, Urmila Devi have written a very beautiful commentary on Manashiksha. There are many other commentaries by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, obviously. And his books like Dana Charita and Mukta Charita are his principal works. But please feel free to research this wonderful devotee on your own convenience. I'll stop here if there's any discussion. We have about 3 minutes of time. Any reflection or anything?
So, the first instruction given by Lord Chaitanya to Raghunath Das Goswami is about Gramya Katha, not hearing the world, like things of the worldly nature, but because of past conditionings of lifetimes and lifetimes of hearing of that, even as devotees, when we're trying to get closer to Krishna, we still have the inclination to hear about those things, and we know it's wrong, but we still do it. So how do we get over our past attachments?
Taking from your cell phone as much as possible. Either keeping a certain time in the day to do your emails and WhatsApp and text messages. Staying away from your phone and staying away from internet. And everybody has to work it out for themselves how they can do it. Gentlemen.
I was saying that the instruction is to meditate on Radha Krishna internal. But what sometimes if somebody's is not in the Manjari Bhav or Gopi Bhav, then is that instruction applicable to everybody, or somebody can meditate on Krishna as a friend, as a Gopa or a Sakha, like that? So,
yes, whatever your inspiration is, whatever Paramatma inspires you from it, whatever rasa, whether it's Sankhya, Dasya, or avatars of Vishnu.
because there are devotees of Narsingadev in our movement who are very attracted to Narsingadev. Like Sridhar Maharaj, who passed away, he was very attracted to Narsingadev.
Whatever your main thing is to be attracted to Radha Krishna, to Krishna and not to sex life. That's the main thing. Now we can take it from there.
Just a comment on Ranchor Prabhu's question. Jayadvaita Swami recommended it one time when he visited a software called Bleach Block. So one enters into this software certain websites that one won't visit, and then it enforces them. And he says that it's called leech block because these things suck up one's time. So
Leech block.
Yes, LEECH, like a blood-sucking worm.
And it's an app you can download on your phone. It's a
Um,
website you can go.
It's a website, yes.
And there you can put all the websites you don't want to go, but
Yes.
your conditionings are driving you there.
Yeah.
And that way, whenever you go, there will be a block.
There will be a block, or maybe you can, like you were saying, to restrict certain times, it'll automatically do that, things like that.
When I first joined the movement, I was very impressed that devotees didn't have television in their homes, But then smartphone came. Distraction is the smartphone. So some people can use it for service all the time, like Prem Sindhu Prabhu. I cannot use it, so I keep my phone away as much as possible. And at least the time you're doing something, keep your phone away as much as you can. That's the main thing.
Because if I don't use it, that devotee said, I sent you a message, you didn't see my message, you're ignoring it.
Prem Chandra Prabhu is a swan. He can extract water from milk, but yes, bro. Hare Krishna, Mata.
Actually, I'm not asking. I don't have any question, but I wanted to tell you to repeat the question that
Ranchor Prabhu asked.
Yeah.
Ranchor Prabhu asked a question: how do we avoid Gramya Katha? How do we avoid mundane talks in our life? And the conditioning is so strong. How do we avoid that? Hare Krishna devotees. Srila Radhananbar ki. Srila Ragunath Das Goswami ki.